Evan, hi.
Hi, Dean.
Evan, this is episode 100, so I'm gonna ease into this one a little bit. It's been a lot of episodes in 8 months, so we're gonna have some fun on this one. But first, let people know a little bit about you.
Well, congratulations on episode number 100.
Thank you.
Excited to be the guest here for that. So my name is Evan James. I'm a Bay Area native. Have been in the startup world for my entire career. Started out in the 2010s in the social media analytics space. Have held roles as Senior Vice President of Marketing, Head of Americas Marketing, and currently I am the CEO of a company named DreamWriter, which helps B2B go-to-market teams fix the broken go-to-market motion.
I should talk afterwards. So here's we're gonna jump around on some questions here. So understanding what you do and the various roles you've had. I mean, let's face it, there are easier ways to make a living, right?
There certainly are.
Like, why do this?
What I love about marketing is it's a combination of quantitative and qualitative analysis. I love coming in, looking at the stats, really jumping into all the numbers of like, what are the levers that we need to push to move performance forwards. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is about psychology, and it's psychology of the target audience that you're going after, but it's also the psychology of the team that you're working with. And how can you organize that team in a way that is going to most effectively get into and convince your buyer persona to move forward?
Fair enough. Can I ask this? I'm going to ask a bunch of inverted questions today.
Good.
When clients hire you, you've had like lots of clients and across various. When clients hire, how do they end up wasting the money?
They end up wasting the money by not necessarily knowing what they want. So they come in and they have a problem, but they haven't come up with any sort of hypotheses as to how to solve it. And so they will typically, in that scenario, throw out, this is what we need to do. And it's like completely, it's something over here, it's something over here, it's something over here. Where I see the most effective clients are like, here's this problem that we have. We want you to solve that. And then really allowing for the fractional CMO to expand and say like, all right, now that we have that problem solved, let's expand to here, let's expand to here. And here's this opportunity that you're missing.
Alan, I want to have you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask both you guys the same question. And I think you're going to have some overlap in your answers, but some different answers. Alan, let folks know about you, and welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Dean. Great to be here, and congratulations on number 100. We're both honored to be your number 100 guests. So my name's Alan Gonsenhauser. I'm on the other coast. I'm in the Boston area, and I've been a CMO 10 times and also mentored over 130 CMOs when I was, at Serious Decisions in Forrester. I started my own business a little over 3 years ago. It's Demand Revenue at demandrevenue.com. I work primarily with private equity and their portfolio companies to help them grow intelligently, primarily in the SaaS software and healthcare, health tech, and different parts of the healthcare ecosystem spaces. I either as an interim chief marketing officer, I also have a number of CMO mentees, and I help CMOs and chief customer officers with projects, or private equity firms with due diligence before they invest in portfolio companies. So that's what I do. And ready for your questions, Dean.
So yeah, and especially we're definitely going to go back to Evan because it's like right up his alley. So today, either eternally or in 2024, like what do most of your clients not understand about messaging to prospects?
Are you asking me first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So keep it simple. When you're talking about messaging, first you need to know who you're going to go after. Who is your ideal customer profile? So, you don't want to just get customers. You want to be able to keep them and retain them. And that's how you grow financially in the future. That's very tied to your future income. And, once you've identified it's depending where you are, like startup companies need to get need to get problem market fit. And if they're successful there, they need to get product market fit. And then if they're successful there, as they scale further, because I work with larger companies over 200 million generally, they need to get platform market fit. So understand who you're going to target. Once you understand who you're going to target, you need to simply position your offering to be compelling. So you have to understand your target audience. You've got to understand your frame of reference of or what space you're in. And then you have to understand your meaningful point of difference. So you want your positioning to be parsimonious. You want it to be pointed and easily understood so people can repeat it to others. And you want to create a remarkable experience. And, you know, depending what sector you're talking about, for example, in high tech, there's a huge sea of sameness, you know, and a lot of technical terms. You want to dumb it down, understand your target audience, what their language and lexicon is, and explain things in simple English, why you're better than the other alternatives they have, which could be your competitors not doing it or doing something a different way. Does that make sense?
It does to me, and I'm sure it does to Evan, so much so that I'm going to sort of invert the question a little bit for Evan. Okay? Evan, inevitably, I mean, I've been in these meetings, you've been in these meetings, your client will push back on something that you want to say to their prospects or the way that you want to say it. What's going through their heads? What are they wrong about? I mean, they're right about many things. I'm not saying clients don't know what they're doing, right? But what are they wrong about when they typically push back against the messaging that you are trying to create for their prospects?
Ego, number one. It's they're coming in, they're wanting to talk about themselves. They're trying to say, here's what we're proud of, here's what we do, here's what I think is best about us. And that you see that within executive teams across every single sector, where the natural human instinct is to say, this is what I think is best about us, rather than what problem are we solving for the customer. And it's really about reshaping that. I couldn't agree with Alan more on how do you really find the problem market fit and then move in. I stick within the problem market fit to product market fit. I then pass it over to Alan as it gets larger and scales up. But really nailing what it is that you're doing for your customer that is solving a core problem. What can you do that will delight them and keep them coming back to your product time and time again? And one thing I think that is critical is once you create that kind of overarching umbrella positioning, umbrella messaging, it's really about creating variations of messaging to individual buyer personas that you're going after. So taking all the different industries that you're targeting and creating variations of your umbrella messaging for that particular industry that's speaking to them. Same thing with roles. So if you're targeting a CFO, a CRO, and a CMO, they care about different things. So you want to make sure for the entire customer journey that you're giving them the right information, that you're hitting on their problems and trying to delight them with your solutions.
So product selfies are alive and well, right, Evan?
Product selfies are alive and well.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm almost done finishing a book, writing it, not reading it, called What Your CMO is Trying to Do. And it's for founders and CEOs who didn't come up on the marketing side and happen to luck into having a really good CMO, but like are butting heads because they don't quite understand where the CMO is coming from. And one of the items in the book talks about that while operations and delivery are focused on, something that occurs and is already in play, and sales is taking something that's sort of like partly shaped and turning it into a customer relationship and a customer in itself. Marketing can be focused on many parts of the organization, and marketing can be a hub for the entire organization, but only marketing is hyper-focused on the beginning of everything, the beginning of that client relationship. The pushback that I sometimes got on this was that, Dean, and this is from clients, right? Like, we already know what we want to say. We need help figuring out how to say it. What do you say when a client says that? Either one of you, both of you.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know? Is this coming from your customers? Is it, what you think you want to say? How do you know? What research have you done? Who have you spoken to? What's the validation? And if you have, great. If not, you may want to think about that. You may want to think about your persona and your target audience and what matters to them and what jobs they're trying to get done. How you help them get their jobs done better, faster, cheaper, more conveniently, etc. If you're not doing that, you're just doing product selfies and talking about how great we are, like Evan was talking about. And that's not what folks want to listen to. They want to hear what's important to them and what they're trying to do, how you can help them do it better. If you're not doing that, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, the question that I ask is the same exact thing. It's, who have you talked to? What did your customer say? How many customers have you talked to? Who was that customer? What problems were they trying to solve? Do you have enough data to be able to form a hypothesis that this is the right industry to target, the right role to target? What does that macroeconomic situation look like? I was at a company where we were targeting HR. The second there was a bit of economic instability, the budgets went away. So we tried to pivot and tried to target the CRO with no data. And the CRO said, I don't care about this solution.
Right.
But we had made our bed at that point, and it was very hard to reverse. And so before you jump into a new market, a new role, a new buyer persona that you're trying to target, it's critical to go off and do at least tens of customer interviews to really say, what's your problem and does our solution fit into it? And if it's no, that's okay. Move on.
Let's talk about the solution for a second. What's the best possible response to a CEO you happen to be talking to who says, yeah, we're really just sort of starting. We don't plan on really having a marketing function. We're going to do product-led growth. Evan, you ever come across this?
I've heard that a lot.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah. Honestly, that's not to be completely truthful.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's when I say good luck.
Okay, let's put it this way then. Your brother-in-law has told you that the company that he has recently started a couple of years ago and just now is sort of coming out of the market, they're not going to do marketing. They're going to do product-led growth. And if this business fails, you're probably going to end up lending this dude money so he can feed his kids. So now you have to convince him that he needs marketing and product-led growth is not going to do it. How do you do that?
Look, I'm actually a huge fan of product-led growth.
Sure, aren't we all?
I think it's an amazing way to grow your customers. But if you're doing that without marketing, you're having a bunch of PMs sitting around analyzing the market and trying to figure out how do we spend as little money as possible to get as much people into the funnel and then convert them throughout the entire process. But they don't know how to bring in the right people at the top of the funnel. And they're missing out on critical insights that can make their product-led growth initiatives much more effective. The easiest way to drive conversion, let's say you're getting free users and you're trying to get them to that first starter tier. The easiest way to do that would be to really understand who's the segment and what do they care about and how do we market to them within that to drive that conversion rate. Not to mention everything at the top of funnel of getting the right people in there at the beginning.
And to net that out, I would say that product-led growth should always be subservient to customer-led growth. Start with customer-led growth. Product-led growth is just, how you would do things efficiently through e-commerce or through, but you always want to think about the customer. And you could have product-led growth be very effective at bringing on new clients that you can't keep, and then you churn and it kills your brand. You don't want that. So start with the customer.
Are there any sort of products or services or industries where product-led growth is just never going to be a thing? Never going to be practical? Not every product, is worth remarking on to someone else.
High ASP, healthcare. I mean, it really depends on the industry. I mean, product-led growth is very powerful if it's the right application, but it's industry dependent, I think, and ASP or average selling price dependent.
So you think it's more of a consumer, not a B2B?
No, it could be B2B, but probably if you're selling something that's $1 million a piece, or $500,000 a piece, that you need a lot more involvement. You can't put that all online and say, I mean, one exception is GE engines for parts, high dollar parts. You can put that on the web and procurement will purchase it because it's something that they purchase all the time, when they need to. But generally, I think it's for lower ASP type models. That would be my opinion. PLG.
I'd agree. Down market, great way to look at it. Up market gets very difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, it's even if you think about it from the consumer side, if you're buying a Ferrari, you probably want to go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
All right. How about this one? Your niece or nephew, here's the hypothetical. Your niece or nephew graduated from college and just started their first full-time job, just started their career. They're the newest marketer in a marketing group, a marketing team at some company. Okay. Comes to you and says, hey, what's your advice for someone starting out in marketing in 2024 and what I should do or not do, what I should pay attention to, or what I can ignore that's come before me as I look through another career of 25 plus years? What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I think two things that are kind of contradictory. One is learn the basics of marketing. I think the last 15 years, there's been such a rise in the number of roles, the rise in the number of digital channels, that it's very easy to get sucked into, I'm going to become a specialist in LinkedIn advertising. Well, if LinkedIn advertising changes their algorithm and it becomes so, the targeting solutions become so great that you're just purely able to go off and not necessarily need a specialist, you're out of a job. And so it's really about understanding everything that we've been talking about, knowing the audience, knowing the pain points, being able to come up with the 4 Ps. But simultaneously, what's changed, I think, in the last 2 years is learn how to use AI tools. Be able to say, I'm whatever type of marketer, but I know how to utilize AI to get the most amount to be as effective as possible. And I don't think this is a trend that's going away. It's going to be something that every marketer needs to know.
Alan, do you think there's anything, someone just starting a career in marketing today, do you think there's anything about the current marketing landscape that they can safely ignore? Like,
that's an interesting question, Dean.
Like, or what would you advise? Would you tell someone today to figure out how to do radio advertising?
It depends on the market. Radio advertising can be very effective in certain markets. The answer is it depends. But what I would say, actually, couldn't agree with Evan more. But I just did a podcast on this very topic of how do you grow your career in marketing, being young, and what should you do? And it's on my website at Demand Revenue in the podcast section. But what I would say, a couple of things. First of all, be open to opportunities. Be open to moving around. Get different experience in marketing. Don't be afraid to go from marketing to sales, back to marketing, to product, back to marketing. Try to look for opportunities to go into different, both on the creative side of marketing and the analytical or operational side of marketing for your career. You're going to be a lot more useful to either your current organization or organizations you go to. And you're probably going to be moving around a lot. I've been, with 10 organizations or more in my career. So that's number one, and be open to new challenges. That's how you grow. And I couldn't agree more with Evan on AI. In any disruptive innovation, AI is here to stay. Become a good what I call promptologist. Learn how to do the right prompts through ChatGPT and other AI tools, and understand it's a tool, but be very careful because it also hallucinates. So you've got to check everything and make sure it passes the smell test. But AI is here to stay. And, if you don't become very comfortable and facile with some of the AI tools, not all of them, There's going to be too many of them, but some of the main ones like ChatGPT and Journey and some others, you're going to be left behind. So that's going to be more and more important in your career, but treat it as a tool to help you become more productive, not to do your job.
Okay, as someone who specializes in coming up with the exact right thing to say the first time in the first few seconds of someone's attention, kill promptologist. Okay, don't ever say that again. It's too close to proctologist. Don't use that term. Come up with another one. Don't use promptologist. Someone mishears it, they're going to have a very different conversation with themselves in their head till they realize that.
Learn how to do prompts really, really well.
There we go.
Whatever you call it.
Yeah, that one's a hard no. Like no, like murder that in its grave.
All right. Mia
culpa.
No more promptology.
I want to talk about prospecting, marketing as prospecting. There are some organizations where there's a very strong marketing function and a very strong sales function, and sales has expanded its headcount to like SDRs and whatever, and they're doing a lot of outbound prospecting. And then there are other organizations where there's very tight integration between marketing and sales, and so in an overlap where, like, I mean, you can essentially think of people, because ultimately we're talking to people, right? People going from cold lead to warm lead to weak prospect to strong prospect and ultimately to a customer, right? And that sort of warm lead and weak prospect area, that's where some companies have like merged that. Alan, I'll start with you. Are you pro or con for marketing and sales, like, sort of merging and marketing taking over more of the responsibility for prospecting? Or do you think that it makes more sense for marketing to worry about telling a message to the market and sales worrying about individuals that they would want to talk to?
Most companies, especially as they get larger, fall down on alignment. And there needs to be really good alignment between marketing, sales, product, customer success, finance. In terms of, obviously, marketing, is doing the messaging and all that. I mean, that's a given. In terms of the lead management process, companies that do a really good job of qualifying leads before they give them to sales generates 4x the pipeline. So, you don't want to generate a high quantity of leads that sales is going to ignore. And a lot of companies have had that issue over time. You want to be really good at qualifying leads, and you want to have really good service level agreements between marketing and sales that, says, okay, what's a hot lead? What's the best lead? And given that it's the best or hot lead, how quickly is sales going to follow up on it? And then you want to make sure the assignment logic goes from marketing, let's say you've got BDRs, to account executives, that it goes to the right person. So you want to look at the whole process from beginning to end. You could look at it as one process, a lead management process. And, it's not just marketing qualified leads, people that come to you, or leads that you generate through outbound. Right. It's also having intent data to understand when a bunch of folks from the same company are beginning to crowd your website. So, you want to know who's in market also. I mean, someone might be a great lead, just not now. They're not in market yet. So, the companies that have been successful at leveraging intent data to understand who's in market that's in their ideal customer profile are far more successful today. And a lot of marketing and sales organizations need to move towards developing that competency with some change management. Did I answer your question, or did I go off the rant?
No, that's good, Evan. So now that you've said that, I want to reframe it a tiny bit for Evan. So, Evan, imagine that marketing is intent on or committed to moving up the buyer or down, depending on, or further along the buyer's journey, and they want to start becoming more of a force for prospecting. And sales is pushing back, right? If you're in sales, why are you pushing back?
Well, first off, I think it depends on the organization on whether marketing should do that or whether sales should truly own it. If you are a high ASV product, super enterprise sales led, there is a really solid case for sales owning the prospecting part of it. Now, marketing should support heavily in that area. They should be. I've seen it where sometimes even the SDR team will be direct line to the CRO, dotted line to the CMO. And that allows for that critical alignment that Alan was talking about, which is no matter what type of organization, is crucial to have good alignment and good conversation and a good relationship between marketing and sales. If you start to get into this who owns what in a fight over something, it's worth doing an offsite, sitting down, having everybody have some fun. So remember that you're all on the same team, and let's figure out what makes most sense and for who to own what. And I would say there is a little bit more of a case. There's definitely, I would say, more of a case if you're more down market or mid market. And I think there's a strong case for marketing to own the prospecting aspect. If you're super enterprise, then I'd say generally sales should own it.
All right, let's talk about content marketing.
Love it.
So, on the one hand, small businesses, and I work with a lot of like small businesses and even single business customers. They will come to me and they'll say like, Dean, I'm doing something and like nobody, I don't even think I have any real competitors. Everybody has competitors. But
of course not.
If nothing else, everyone's number one competitor, especially in B2B, is I'll think about this tomorrow. Inertia is, or the incumbent, are the top two competitors. So they'll come to me and they'll talk about they want to do content. Now, I don't create content marketing, so it's I get to talk to them about this without ever having to be on the hook for it. So fair enough, right? But I explain to them that you can't educate a market into existence. Right? If people don't even know that they have a problem, a small business, and by that I mean like any company under say 10 million a year, right, will never have enough time and money to educate a market for a bunch of people who don't even know they have a problem, let alone like think about whether or not realize they have a problem and wonder if a solution even exists. Right? And the smaller the business is, or the more more acute its financial needs are, the more it needs to move up those 5 stages, right? Alan, you're like the model guy. The 5 stages of customer awareness are they don't know they have a problem. They know they have a problem. They don't think a solution exists. They're aware that solutions exist, but they don't know about your solution. They know about your solution, and they know everything they're going to need to make a purchase. I think those are the 5, right? And a small business needs to start at like level 3. But if they have enough time, or they have some time, content marketing can, in a way, sort of educate a market into existence, right? Dave, like, yes or no? Should they even bother to ever educate a market into existence and instead, do content marketing that's based on things people are going to search for? I mean, people don't know they have a problem. They're never going to search for it.
Who are you asking?
I'm sorry, Evan. So Evan, a customer comes to you and says like, people don't even know yet. Never mind that they don't know about us. They don't even know that this category of product exists. They don't even know they have a problem. We want to, start producing content so that we can educate the market. And we'll be the first ones that are there. What would you say to a client like that, other than like, what are you drinking?
I'd say there have to be some early adopters. If you're if you're have a solution and nobody knows that they have this problem, like literally nobody knows that they have this problem, is there a problem there? Because if nobody knows it, it could be in very rare, exceptional circumstances. Just nobody has thought that they have this problem. But I'd say, 99% of the time, if literally nobody has a problem, it's probably not a problem. Now, if there are early adopters that are saying, hey, I've got this problem and I'm looking for a solution like you, fantastic. That's a great time to go off and do educational marketing. Make sure that a larger percentage of the market starts to recognize that there's a problem. They may not buy right away, but they'll start to recognize that they have a problem. And as that problem grows and grows and more people are talking about it, there's almost a FOMO aspect of really looking and saying, hey, I'm going to tackle that. But yes, somebody says, hey, nobody has this problem, but we're first to market. Okay. Is it a problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it just like you came up with something and now you want to convince people to buy it? There's a very different between like figuring out what people need or want and then making a product or service for it, and then making a product or service based on what you can make, and then trying to convince people to buy it. Like one of those is way harder than the other.
There are three kinds of products. Okay. There's new market, which we're talking about. There's no budget for it. You have to do a lot of thought leadership, and you have to create interest. And you need, you know, as Evan's saying, you need early adopters, and that's very difficult. Takes a long time. Content could help. The second is new paradigm, or you have a better way to do an existing process. You know, horse instead of a buggy whip, or there are millions of examples. You know, look at Clayton Christensen or Joseph Schumpeter. There are millions of examples on how markets have evolved through disruptive innovations. And the third kind is called established market. Everybody knows there's a budget for it. There's a replacement cycle. It's very competitive. There's a lot of price pressure and price competition. In my experience, new market is very, very rare, as Evan said. It's more difficult to create a completely new category there's no budget for. You have to have a long time, and you have to get some early adopters and start, crossing the chasm. If you say, a lot more common is new paradigm, where you develop a better way to do an existing process.
Right.
Less expensive, cheaper, more convenient, whatever benefits. And then established market, there's a lot of competition. You're doing a lot of, competitive comparisons and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Those are good answers, guys. I really appreciate those. Here's my next one. In your work, and I'm talking about you specifically, I'm not talking about all of marketing or whatever. In your work, in my work, I imagine we have, the three of us, some overlap, but we have very different sort of core metrics that influence and we get remunerated on, right? And so, like Evan, in your world, in your work, in the kind of in the part of marketing you do, what's like the one or two core metrics that either every client wants to measure or you always measure to get an idea? Just like the one or two core metrics. Like for me, for instance, I'll give you an example in case I'm not being clear. Because I write mostly outbound and almost no content or inbound, then like open rates and click-through rates and ultimately like conversion rates, right, are like, those are like the two or three core metrics. If I'm doing well on those, I don't really have to worry about any like sub metrics. For other people, it might be net promoter score. It might be something else, right? So Evan, in your world, right, and in Dreamwriter, sorry, it's been a lot of talking today. I record multiple podcast episodes.
And we know 100 of them, right?
But Evan, in your work, what's like the one or two sort of core metrics that keep coming up or that you try to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, I have always branded myself as a revenue-oriented marketer, and so I'd say if anybody's hiring me as a fractional CMO, ultimately I'm tying all of my efforts to revenue, and I'll have kind of sub metrics that go into that. So if it's heavily focused on the entire funnel, and the biggest gap and area of opportunity is how do we generate more MQLs? Great, but I'll pull that and then I'll just show, all right, here's the conversion rate. Here's how we up the conversion rate to SQLs. And then we take SQLs and we up the conversion rate to opportunities and pipeline amount. And ultimately, we're always looking at that closed one amount. There are a lot of marketers, or not a lot, there are some marketers that really like to focus even further than that and go into kind of customer marketing and focusing on retention. It's not my area. And so I'm really looking at how do you get that net new business.
Okay. And this is a jargon-free show. So either you can, or I'll do it if you want, define for the audience MQL and SQL.
Sorry, marketing qualified lead. So, typically that would usually be something that is inbound. Marketing is then taking it and saying, does it hit the requirements to become a sales qualified lead, which SQL, based off of who that person is, the industry that they're in, the company that they're in, etc.
By the way, one lesson that I've learned from doing 100 episodes, now when someone brings up any kind of technical term or jargon, I always make sure before I turn it over to them that I let them know I'm willing to say, because I didn't do that earlier, and someone, I forget it was what they had picked a term, and I said, for the audience, go ahead and explain what that abbreviation means, and it was just and it's not that they didn't understand what they were talking about. It's that we use the jargon so much we forget what the underlying even is, right? Because we don't never use it. We use this, and so thanks for pointing out marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead. But I was ready to with a net in case you needed it. There's no worse feeling than someone's on the hook and you're oh, I screwed that up. I should not have asked them that. That's really bad. And Alan, how about you? What one or two metrics do you always end up measuring or keeping an eye on?
Sure. Well, I mean, the waterfall metrics that Evan mentioned in the front end, but of course, financial and profitability, but they're lagging indicators. Mm-hmm. They're impact. I try to focus on the things that will drive that, mm-hmm. like outputs and results that will drive ultimate impacts to the business, like revenue and profit. So, of course, the waterfall metrics on the front end, marketing and sales qualified lead and pipeline. But I do actually focus a lot on customer-led growth. And the kind of stats there are NPS, which stands for Net Promoter Score, which is a score from 0 to 10 on how likely a company is, a customer or client is likely to recommend you to their friends and business associates. Also on net revenue retention, which is how many of your customers do you keep and grow, and LTV to CAC, I'll explain that. Lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. Right. When you bring on a new customer, how long will you keep them, and what's the lifetime value of the revenue over this stream of how long you will keep them? Right. Because I'm a big believer, and we mentioned this earlier, the important reason to know your ideal customer profile is if you bring on customers but you can't keep them and you churn, especially in the SaaS business, and you've got a leaky bucket, that's going to impact your revenue,
it's profitability,
and your brand. Mm-hmm. So I focus a lot on the back-end metrics too, on keeping customers in addition to getting them.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. Evan, so two things. One, who should be contacting you these days, and how should they get in touch with you? And two, you can ask Alan any question you want, and then he's going to get to do the same.
Well, that's easy because I'm going to go right for anything on customer marketing, because that is definitely something that I would love to do more on. But for contacting me, easy. One, if you're interested in checking out a cool AI solution that is helping B2B go-to-market teams create really on-point messaging that creates variations of content based off of your industries that you're targeting and the roles, check out dreamwriter.ai. If you're interested in hearing about professional services, just contact me. You can write to my email, evan@dreamwriter.ai, and we'd love to speak with you. Question for you, Alan. I would love to hear. So we were talking pre-show a little bit about how you are really focused on helping larger companies that are looking to showcase profitability, sometimes dealing with mergers and acquisitions. What are some of the challenges that you would say that live within that ecosystem versus something like you're doing marketing for a startup?
I try to look at infrastructure and how developed it is. So when I first, work with a larger company, so I look at people, process, technology, MarTech stack, data, analytics, and pricing. Those 6 things. I often find, especially if companies have gone through a lot of M&A and they've acquired a lot of companies, they haven't integrated them. Mm-hmm. And their data can be really dirty. In fact, their data can be filthy. And you need good data for marketing and sales to target customers and target your ideal customer profile. So I do a lot there. I've also, there are often issues with alignment, getting marketing, sales, product, customer success, finance on the same page. The larger companies are, the more difficult it is to get aligned and stay aligned. And that's so important to intelligent growth and profitability. Does that help?
It does. Certainly does.
Yeah.
And Alan, how should people get in touch with you these days? Who should be getting in touch with you? And what's your final question for Evan?
So I'm not going to ask you to spell my last name. So to get in touch with me, my website is demandrevenue.com, just like how it sounds. Mm-hmm. And you can use the email of ag@demandrevenue.com. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. Question for Evan, in terms of, you see a lot of issues with go-to-market functions. What's the biggest issue you've seen lately?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest issue has been an issue for a while, and it's with the rise of the number of digital channels. There's a lot of noise. And what you've seen from that is with all the new digital channels that are out there, you're having different people within the marketing and sales function that are trying to create anything that is going to drive a conversion for their particular channel, rather than thinking, what is the unified customer experience and the customer journey? And so I think it's in some ways going back to the basics, but also utilizing new technologies like AI to say, okay, how do we, from the beginning part of the marketing journey all the way through to a closed won contract and even beyond, how do we give the prospect or our customer the exact right information that is most relevant to them and keep that as a unified experience all the way throughout, no matter where you're targeting them on in terms of a social channel or in terms of a digital channel.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, guys, Alan and Evan, thank you so much. And thanks for participating in episode 100.
100.
We're in triple digits now.
All right.
And thanks for watching, everyone. It was very gratifying to see we've already exceeded 100,000 views so far just this year. Not bad for a podcast that only launched in January.
Great job.
And so, a lot of work. And I think the two best pieces of advice I got in working came as a teenager. One was from one boss, and we were all basically teenagers working for him. And he would just say the same thing all day, every day, over and over and over, which is do it now, then it's done.
Yeah.
Just like get rid of it now, then it's done.
Yeah.
And that was just like crazy. And then the other was that nothing happens till you make it happen. That's the first sales manager told me that. Like nothing will happen unless you make it happen.
I'll give you a third one. Less is more.
There you go.
There you go.
So that's it for this one. Thanks very much. Thanks for the first 100. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you guys later.